Strangeology podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Foran, and this is your place to explore the weird, the strange, the unexplained, from cryptids and creatures, the paranormal, aliens and UFOs, forbidden knowledge, ancient mysteries, to conspiracy theories, and more. So welcome back, everyone. I feel like it's been a minute since I've been sitting in front of the microphone here and recording, even though the last episode and this one are, I guess, right on track for the bi-weekly schedule. I was gone for a week, and for me, I always lose track of time on vacation, but I'm proud of myself because I actually managed to get an episode recorded, edited, and scheduled for release ahead of time. So A+ for me with that. Now, a ton of people have checked out the last episode that I released, due in part to a recent explosion of new listeners out there. So if you are new to the show, welcome aboard. We're glad to have you. The last 2 weeks have just been bananas with show downloads and new followers on social media. And that's largely because I appeared on a recent episode of the Confessionals podcast. I was approached by Tony Merkel, and he liked my show and wanted to have me on to talk about some stuff about my research into Tartaria, ancient giants, and a bunch of other stuff too, which was an awesome time. So if you are listening, thanks again, Tony, for having me on and steering some new folks out there over here to what I'm doing with Strangeology. And I know there's a bunch of new other people checking out the show as well who came here after watching a reel video that I had posted on my Instagram like a month ago at this point, which was this just kind of like a teaser for the Tartaria episode that I did several weeks back. And initially it didn't get really much traction, not a lot of views, but then somehow it got kicked into the Instagram algorithm a couple weeks later while I was on vacation, which is funny and weird. So there's just like constant conversation going on there and new followers all the time. So wherever you are and however you found the show, thank you so much for coming by and checking it out. It's really awesome to have some more people listening to the show. As far as updates, I will be vending at CryptidCon in Lexington, Kentucky on November 19th and 20th at the Clarion Conference Center, which is only at this point a month away. And I've got some work to do restocking merch for that, printing some new t-shirts. And also, speaking of other new merch, I have a cool new enamel pin that I will be releasing soon. It should be here in a couple weeks, so I will have it for CryptidCon. I'll get it listed up on my shop. I really will need to when I'm on my like paternity leave coming up in a couple months. I'm gonna try to spend some time and make some new designs. So hopefully that'll. Hopefully that'll get a lot of stuff out of the brain and onto designs for some fresh new stuff for you. And I'll also have a fresh new batch of my Mothman Stay Weird pins that I designed those last year, and those have been a hit. People love picking those up at shows and also on my shop. And I sold out of almost all of them at the Sasquatch Festival in Whitehall a few weeks back. So I was like, whoa, I gotta order some new ones for CryptidCon and also the holidays coming up. So anyway, before we get started, if you would like to support the show and what I'm doing here, you can head on over to patreon.com/Strangeology. and join the growing members community that I'm building over there. And shout out to all the members who have been with me since the beginning, new members as of recently. Your support means the world to me. Becoming a member means that you have access to some really awesome perks depending on the tier. There's 6 of them, and I think most people really love the early access to episodes, as well as being able to listen to the exclusive episode extensions that I have, starting with Season 1, Episode 10, called Strangeology Beyond. And that is with guest episodes. There's more conversation about my guests and weird stories. And with research episodes, it's a whole other episode in and of itself. So you get a lot of extra content signing up. There's merch discounts to my shop, exclusive merch as well that only members can get. There's VIP Discord access, behind the scenes, voting power, and a lot more. There's even a t-shirt of the month club that you can sign up to, and every month you get a brand new Homestate Cryptid collection shirt. There are currently 61 of them, so that's a lot of shirts. If you really love cryptids, that's definitely something you'd want to consider. So again, that is patreon.com/Strangeology. We'll see you there. All right, coming up on the show today, I am joined by Todd Purse from Create Magic, who came on to chat all about his perspectives on art and the Fortean world, along with his background as a musician, as well as diving into ideas surrounding consciousness and the soul and all the interconnectedness and high strangeness surrounding all of that. It was a super fun conversation, although it was unfortunately plagued with some technical difficulties of the internet connection variety. So if you notice an odd jump or some garbled speaking, that's why. I did my best to clean up the episode, and thankfully I think I saved it and it came out okay. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. All right, welcome back to the show, everyone. This episode's guest is someone who I recently learned about and whose work I enjoy a lot. I've got Todd Purse from the Create Magic podcast with me today. So how are you doing, Todd? And can you tell the listeners out there who you are and what it is that you do?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very stoked to be here. I am a cartoonist and illustrator. I do a lot of work in the realm of the weird, I guess you could say. And I have a little podcast where I talk about the artwork I make. And yeah, that's pretty much what I do these days.
All right. I guess we can call the podcast over. No, I'm just kidding. How did Create Magic start? Like, what were the beginnings of this whole thing that you do?
So I guess it's kind of, so as far as the podcast end of things and like what I've officially been calling Create Magic Studios or Create Magic, the whole general umbrella, just like a year ago or so. And that all came from I really wanted to start producing physical comics and zines again. So I grew up making zines and comics and self-publishing and all that stuff throughout the local music scene. And then as I got older, just doing like local, like alternative press expos and stuff like that. And then I kind of got out of that and started focusing more on music and more of my illustration, I guess, career, where I'm working for, companies making artwork for people that make money off that and ways that you can support yourself. And besides that, all the fun art that I was making was digital. So it was all for Instagram and stuff like that. And I wanted a way to take the things from the internet and make them so I can hold them again, because that's what I grew up loving. So I started started doing Personal Folklore, which is a comic anthology I put out, and my goal was to do it every month for a year straight. And I'm on month 8 and issue 7. So I missed 1 month, but it's because I self-published a kid's book, so I kind of count it close enough anyway that I've been doing it.
Yeah.
So to do that, I started a Patreon because people wanted to subscribe to the comic that were buying it. So when I started the Patreon, a very nice person was like, you should do a little daily podcast about the artwork you post, just kind of explaining either your process or your thoughts or things like that. And at first I was like, I don't know. No one wants that. So I was like, I guess if these Patreon friends wanted, I'll do it for just that. And then I realized, I was like, well, I'm already making this. I might as well just put it out there and see what happens. So that's kind of the origin of how the podcast started. And now I think I'm on episode 171 I put up today. So I've been doing it for 170 days straight. So I don't think I'm going to stop anytime soon. It's become like my daily meditation almost.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's epic. I was checking out your catalog the other day, and I was like, wow, Todd's got like a ton of episodes, and there are a lot. Most of them seem to be like the shorter form thing, which you said is kind of like, now it's meditation for you to like just talk about all the aspects of the artwork that you do, which is that's a really, really amazing idea, I think. But you're also getting into bringing on guests for interviews. I finally got around to listening to your episode with Amanda Paulson from Pretty Effin' Spooky, mutual friend of ours, who I've had on this show before too. And it's a fun podcast. I listened to a couple of your shorter form ones too, and I was just like, all right, this guy's got it going pretty good here. He's got a good format, a good.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
no, it's been really fun having people on too. I've kind of always, there's a lot of people I communicate with just through like Instagram Messenger and stuff like that I'm like, I want an excuse to talk to this person for a couple hours. And then I figured I was already doing the podcast, and what do you do with the podcast but talk to people for a couple hours? So
yeah, exactly.
I just started reaching out to friends. Essentially, I've just talked to people that I'm friendly with on the internet, and it's been really nice to kind of bond even more after those conversations. And someone like Amanda is a great example of that, who I have talked to way more now and consider a good friend.
Yeah. It's great. Like, Strangeology is, we talk about all the different Fortean things out there, and I'll do research episodes and have kind of like me just talking into the mic, screaming into the void. But then at one point I was like, I want to bring some people on, bring some friends, and some more recent episodes I've done, I'm starting to branch out to people I don't know, and people who have, more of a presence in the community. So, we're always growing and shifting and doing new things. But I wanted to ask you, circling back to like the illustration and like the branding work that you do for companies. Now, did you go to school for illustration and stuff like that, or is that just like something that's always been innate within you?
A bit of both, I'd say. Yeah, I was a drawing kid growing up. I grew up on Simpsons and like
Nice.
a lot of, I just loved illustrated books. Like I wasn't even a super comics nerd growing up. I really didn't get into comics until high school, I'd say. Like that was probably like 2000 is probably when I really started reading books. But before that, I was just so all about it. Like I just loved illustrated books, and I loved cartoons. So, but I hit that point in, I'd say like 7th or 8th grade, where I just wasn't even close to the best artist in school. Like it was very obvious. Like I remember very clearly hitting that wall and right before high school and kind of stopping for a minute. But then weirdly enough, so I have a bunch of learning disorders. And at that time, for the high school I went to, the way they dealt with them. So, for example, I have severe dyslexia, and instead of having to take a foreign language class, they let me try it for like a month. And they're like, don't worry about that. Take an extra art class. They could see I had an
Huh.
interest in visual arts. So
Yeah.
they would cut out these things that I really struggled with, and they let me take extra art electives for credits. So I ended up like editing the art, poetry, literature, and visual arts magazine. And that coupled with going to like local DIY shows for the first time and being really inspired by a lot of artists that made incredible stuff without being incredible or what you would consider typical crafts people, like taking the craft out of it and just making the message. That like got me back
Yeah.
into making things a lot. So yeah, through high school I got way back into creating, and then went to college out of the Catholic guilt of my mother for sure. Like did not like I did go to art school for 2 years and got an associate's degree in illustration. So she would tell you that it worked, and that you know, I did the thing, and on paper I guess it looks that way, but the education or the experience I had at art school has very little to do with what I do now, besides the 40 grand in debt that it is still I'm still paying off currently.
Yeah.
So it's different for everybody. I've have friends that are artists right now that had an amazing experience at art school and would not be the creatives they are now without that exposure. But at the time I was playing in a touring band and had a very set social structure and outlet for my creativity. So
Yeah.
where most of the kids I was in school with were kind of like finding their own little like creative circles and like printing their first zines and stuff like that, I was just kind of like a little bit out of that already, and not out of it, but just like I didn't need to make a new circle or have that experience through college, which I think a lot of it is. So it's one of those things that I didn't like, probably took about 10 years before I could support myself off of artwork after school, I'd say. And lots of kitchen jobs and shitty design illustration, like lots and lots of stupid stuff, and like working way too hard for free and such, but it all worked out in the end.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, we all kind of go through that grind. Yeah. I would say like my college education for like design and stuff with my background in graphic arts and stuff, like certainly like helped me to an extent, but you know, it's it's like now we're doing this stuff now, and that doesn't really have anything to do with anything else here. But
I was so on the border of like I remember like right now I create, or at least finish, most of my artwork on a tablet. And like when I was in art school at college, the Wacom tablet or Wacom tablet was the only option where you had to look at the screen and draw the tablet separately. You couldn't look at what you were drawing, and just
those
that
are awkward. I have one.
yeah, I just can't do it. Like I never could convert. So like my whole process has always been very analog until the last like 3 or 4 years, where I converted to finally like getting a iPad and using Procreate for print. But before then, and I still do a lot of this where it's all layers of tracing paper, so all of the colors in black, and then I scan everything, vector it, and then put it together in Illustrator.
Oh,
That's
there
still,
you go.
yeah, that's like, and it's the way I use Procreate. So even though I have like this tool that has a bajillion options, I still use it. So I'm like, here's my 4 layers, here's 1 color, 2 color, trap, or 3 colors and then a trap, or however. So I still like function just like I did when I was fully analog, but it's so much faster.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, that's cool to hear. That's like the process you were going through with that. I was kind of going to ask, like, you know, do you prefer doing like the more traditional stuff on paper and or just like all digital? And I kind of like went through that journey myself when I was like starting all the merch line for Strangeology, trying to figure that out. But yeah, no, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I still do all of the actual like sketching and stuff on paper. All of the initial drawing is still done like physically. And I said a bunch that I don't know if it's like a nostalgic thing, but it just feels right. Like I can't get the same feeling out of like being loose and loopy on an iPad. Like I don't know if it's the glass or what it is, or maybe it's just like a weird thing in my brain that I should probably get over. But yeah, so I still start everything in a sketchbook and take it from there to a transfer, like a piece of tracing paper to tighten it up, and then usually take a picture with the iPad and go from there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, totally. It's super fun.
Yeah, my iPad, I got this like you know, the screen protectors, and I got one that has kind of like almost a paper texture to it. So it's like it's not, you know, the same as like on actual paper, but it feels a little bit more like it's got that rough like scratch to it, which
I've
is kind of
wondered
cool.
how those were. Yeah,
Yeah. You should
totally.
try it out sometime. The next time your screen protector breaks when your kid drops your iPad or something.
I'm gonna check that out. I Yeah, exactly. We I think about that stuff a lot with I mean, we don't have to get too weird with it here, but like as far as the creation process and using things that are analog versus digital, and like just in my mind knowing that when I'm drawing with an iPad that zeros and ones are making those lines makes me feel weird for some reason. And like I feel like there's a, for me, and this is probably just personal to everybody, but I feel like it's easier to connect with when it's analog thing and there's more room for ambivalence and like messing up and just like messiness in general. Allows me to tap into, I'm definitely one of those dudes that thinks the stuff does not guide me and I tap into something. So I think it allows that to happen easier, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. um, Now, as far as like, you know, like your inspiration, are there any artists out there that have kind of like influenced your style,
Yeah,
a lot? Yeah, I'd love to hear
totally. Yeah.
about, you know, who you look up
So
to.
yeah. I mean, it's a big array of stuff. And I mean, I'd say the first things that really influenced me was The Simpsons. I was definitely a huge cartoon fan, and I remember the first things like really trying to copy was Simpsons characters. And then from there was a lot of copying like Goosebumps covers and a
Of
lot of
course.
the like, yeah, like lots of scary stories to tell in the dark. I loved illustrated books growing up, and that the first like real geeky thing art hole I went down was the golden age illustrators from the turn of the century, and a lot of that was because I was a fantasy kid growing up. I
Oh,
loved like
okay.
King Arthur and stuff, and Howard Pyle's illustrations and NC Wyeth's were just some of my favorites, and they were just these gorgeous like there was either these beautiful ink drawings or these like really giant gorgeous oil drawings that I just loved growing up. And then they're also very local. Like all this art was created in Delaware and PA, right around where I grew up. So I got to go see the paintings growing up in
Oh,
the
that's
Delaware
awesome.
Art Museum. And like there was something about seeing it on the wall and then seeing it reproduced in a book that like made me really want to do that. That was one of the biggest things. So that was like the first thing that made me want to draw. But as far as like more stylistically, a lot of like 50s to 70s comics, like the EC, the pre-code horror stuff is a huge influence on me. It probably doesn't come across like directly visually, but people like Jack Davis and Wally Wood and all of the original EC artists, just like the way that they can convey motion and energy with their line work blows my mind. And one of the biggest ones that I don't know how many people know about is Basil Wolverton.
Hmm.
He was like one of the first psychedelic artists in comics before psychedelic art was a thing. I have a book right here that's called Creeping Death from Neptune. That is like all of his old 50s science, sci-fi stories that
Oh,
are
that's
just like,
awesome.
it's the most out of this world artwork. And he ended up being known for his portraits that were in Mad Magazine a lot, where they're just like
Yeah.
grotesque, like nasty, but just so intricately drawn, beautiful pieces of art. That combination of something so grotesque but so like technical and beautiful at the same time really vibed with me. And then I guess like modernly, like I get a lot of influence from artists on, like I have a very nice group of artist friends on Instagram, like Mikey and Sam of Boss Dog are a big influence on me. And then
Cool.
my buddy Robin Banks out in Salt Lake City, he is they are one of my favorite like artists going right now. Works very much in like the Archie style from back in the day and very heavily comics influence. So I guess that's a long way of answering that question, but
Yeah, no, that's great. That's a lot of cool stuff
the
to. Yeah,
influence in a nutshell.
yeah. Now like what kind of companies do you typically work with for like illustration work? I checked out your
Yeah.
website and there was some like coffee stuff going and maybe some like other food and beverage. Is that kind of like
Yeah.
the meat and potatoes of what you do? And
Yeah.
what's been like your favorite project that you've worked on so far?
Totally. So yeah, that's definitely the meat and potatoes. My main gig is with Brandywine Coffee Roasters. They are a roastery here in Delaware that it's a long story, but there was the owner of a local cafe who had owned the cafes for about 20 years, wanted to start a coffee roastery. And my partner, Allie, was working with her in the cafe side. When they wanted to start the coffee roastery, I was like, you should let me do all the illustration work and we should silk screen bags and do it very differently. And it worked and they let me do it. And it was very successful, which I am so grateful and very lucky for. So pretty much my main gig is drawing illustrations for the coffee bags. We release 2 coffees every week. So I'm responsible for 2 illustrations a week. And I, for a while was running, we hand screen print all of our bags. So for a while I was running the little print shop in there. But at this point it is, we're printing upwards of like 8,000 bags a week. So it's all, people are doing it way better than I could. I was not cut out to run a production print shop like that. But yeah, so that's my main gig, is doing the illustration work. And I still do some other stuff. Like I'm still involved in the coffee selection program and some other things with the company, just because I kind of helped start it and everything. And it's been nice to, like, for the first couple of years I was doing sales and a bunch of other stuff in the company to justify being able to do but it luckily was successful enough where I've been able to cut everything out except for pretty much the art and the coffee side of things, which is the good stuff. So
yeah.
Since doing that, I've
you're living the life, man. That's
no,
awesome. Hell yeah.
I'm very, very lucky. And then through that, I've gotten to do a lot of cool projects. Other half is a beer company, a brewery that does amazing releases, and they have locations in New York, DC, Philly, and I've got to do some really fun collaborations. And it's nice because they're a great example where the owner reached out to me and was like, I love what you do with Brandywine. Can you just do that for this beer label? So I'm finally at the point where people usually just are like, I like what you do, we want to pay you to do that, which, like, I didn't think ever would happen, to be honest.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's great. I love to hear that, you're able to really just kind of channel your creativity into all this. It's wonderful for, people with brains like yours and mine, where we're like, we need something like that in our lives daily to get it out.
No, absolutely. I'm super lucky that it's all one at this point. Like, I don't have a separation as far, like, when I'm drawing for myself, I could be drawing for Brandywine too. Like, I don't have an art director or somebody that's like, no, that's too weird, don't put that on the, like, there's none of that stuff. Like, our biggest thing we do every year is the Halloween Club, and we have pretty much, you get 5 shipments of a coffee every week in a specific Halloween themed bag. And then, like, this year we did trick or treat pillowcases that were screen printed that me and another artist did, and we did these really nice to-go mugs that go with it. So we, like, that's the type of stuff that I love doing. I love building, like, those kind of experience and just getting to put the stuff I love. Like, each bag represents a different local urban legend from Delaware, so there's 5 different legends that I got to kind of do a deep dive on and have some fun. Sick. And I did a little podcast for each one with one of my friends that works at the company. They kind of are less into the weird stuff, so I just bounced a bunch of stuff off them, and it was super fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I was wondering, back to your comics, the weirdo comics you put out. Now, you said that's kind of like a monthly release, and you missed like one because you're working on a children's book, but what's some of the content that usually makes it into, is it all just comics, or do you put in like articles and that kind of thing?
So it's all visual art for sure. They are a mix of both a collection of the artwork that I post on Instagram. So a lot, like half of it is usually just stuff that I pick out my favorites from that month from Instagram, and I adjust it slightly so it fits in the book and everything. And then the other half is a comic of some sort. And I have an ongoing title that I just call Strange, which I use to just kind of rant about paranormal ideas and idea 14 stuff. stuff, and nothing researched, nothing at all, just things that I are on my brain, and a lot of like consciousness weird stuff that I just like to have an outlet for. And yeah, and then some of it is more, I like to call them kind of all ages weirdo kid books, but some of them are like little, I have one's Goblin Life comics that's just the little goblin guy I draw all the time going through different life events and stuff like that. So it's all
Nice.
comics. I'm just now going to start reaching out to some other artists in different mediums to start contributing. It's one of those things I go back and forth on all the time. Like I was in bands forever, still am in bands, and I love being in bands. I hate wrangling other people's schedules and dealing with like I just want to make stuff. I don't want to have to deal with 4 other people's life schedules. And so like the comic has been one of those things where it's just a solo anthology. I can put whatever I want in there. Like I don't have any, but I'm at the point now where I feel like the way to grow this more is to start having other creative voices. And there's been a few people I've talked to recently that have inspired some ideas I'm going to start working on. So those probably won't happen for a minute, but enough.
Yeah, well, hey, all right. So so we're back after some technical difficulties here. So you're a musician, and I love talking with kindred spirits and stuff about music who I have on the show. If you've listened to the show before, it's it's a small world out there. And I was looking at some stuff online last night when I was prepping for the episode, and I'm like, okay, Todd's a fellow musician. Oh, we know some mutual people in Iron Chic and Warm Needles, and
oh, that's awesome.
And our bands have played shows with these other bands before that. Or well, I don't know if Warm Needles is still playing, but Iron Chic certainly. My band's played a few shows with and booked them a few times, and I think you might know one of my former bandmates from like way back in the day. This guy Chris Hayes. He used to play in Candy Hearts and
Candy Hearts, yeah,
a few other bands. Yeah, super dude. He had Easy Plateau Studios. I think he's still doing that, but I think he moved to Asheville or something like that. Yeah, Chris is a great
North Carolina. He works in coffee. We work together on the coffee side of things. He works for Black and White Coffee Roasters down in North Carolina right now.
Right on. And, yeah, I didn't know what he was getting up to down there. I just like saw that he'd moved there recently, and I was like, oh wow, you got away from the city.
Totally. It's funny. We reconnected via that, which is always, I mean, all of the coffee world, the music world, the weirdo world, they all have very similar flows, I feel like, and similar people. But that's awesome that, the Iron Chic dudes are some of my favorite people in the world. Dumps is forever one of my favorite. He's a hero of mine. And
I mean,
the work he does, the work Mike does with Dead Broke is I just have so much respect for what that dude does, and just love those guys so much.
I love all of his projects that he does too. It's like he's got like a prolific like library of stuff that he's been involved with. It's great.
No, absolutely. They're the type of dudes that I won't see for years, and then when I do see them, it's like we never stopped hanging.
Nice. That's awesome. Now, you've done some touring too. Do you just mainly sticking around like the Mid-Atlantic area, or have you like done like cross-country tours and stuff with the Headies?
Yeah. We've done 3 cross country all together. The majority of our touring is usually either to the Midwest and back or to Florida and back. Lots of really, really good friends in the Midwest, and just that's probably our favorite place to go as far as just a comforting place to play with good people and everything, and just some of our favorite bands. But we did the whole country a few times. I was in another band that was much shorter lived called Martin, that did a lot more touring. It was with a guy that was in a slightly bigger band that he started after that bigger band was no longer a band. So we had a lot of other opportunities, and that was really fun. That was where I was kind of done with it though. I was like, I can do this sometimes, but not as much as these people want to. So it was I was starting to pick up more in the freelance illustration stuff, and just really focusing more on the visual side of things. And the touring stuff was some of my favorite memories for sure. Like I love that.
What was your start with music? Like what influenced you to kind of start playing?
Yeah, I guess I really got into it in like 6th and 7th grade. I had a friend growing up in elementary school that lived on the St. Andrews campus, which is a boarding school in Delaware. It's actually the boarding school that Dead Poet Society was filmed at, which is pretty fun. But his parents were teachers there, so they had a house, and during the summertime, we would get pretty much full reign of the campus, and they had this giant music room with all kinds of recording equipment and any kind of instrument you could ever want. So we got to just like mess around with everything and teach ourselves essentially how to record a band by recording Green Day songs. And he was the first person that also kind of helped me dig a little deeper. And he introduced me to Pinhead Gunpowder, which was Billy Joe's other band with a little bit more of a punk aesthetic. This guy, Aaron Comet Bus, was the main writer and drummer of the band. And I got into, he has a amazing collection of zines called Comet Bus that changed my life and was one of the first things where I saw like a real DIY zine. And I think that kind of kickstarted way more than just the music for me.
Nice. That's awesome. On your show, I've noticed that there's some like rockin' music that goes along for like intro outro stuff. Do you write that music for your podcast?
Yeah, so the intro and the outro music I recorded in the garage by myself on a little I don't know, little 4-track thing that I have laying around that kind of still works. And then like all the background music I just make per episode, and I usually just put on like one of those digital drummers and play guitar to it. And then recently I've started really ending each episode with a different song from different bands I've been in and things like that, and pretty much all songs that I've written but performed in different bands. So that way I forget how much of that stuff just sits places, and I was like, well, I might as well just start throwing that into the episodes.
Yeah, it gets it out there to more people, I suppose, right?
Totally.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Now, what would you say like your top like three to five bands are currently?
Currently, well, I think the Ramones will forever have number one spot. It's by not only like a band that makes me feel like amazing no matter when I listen to them, but probably has been the most consistent thing that I go back to all the time. And like my kids love it. Like they love the Ramones. Like there's something about it that
Nice.
they just like, they don't really care about any of my music, but they just love that. So definitely forever in the top 5 or a couple. Other than that, like been in a big Bell and Sebastian kick. I absolutely love me some Bell and Sebastian right now, and it's one of my fall favorites. I think it's one of those bands that just the songwriting is so amazing, and rhythm section. Their rhythm, like if you listen to their bass player and what that's so good. Just one of my favorite things. And then I guess something that's a little newer is there's a group called Tony Molina, or a guy named Tony Molina, and he writes and records a bunch of stuff that is, I like to say, it kind of sounds like Weezer and Thin Lizzy that write 30-second songs about hating your town that you grew up in or your friends. It's like some of the most like, I love songs, and this is probably the Ramones influence, and you probably notice if you listen to any of my music, I love songs that are like 40 seconds to a minute and a half. That's my jam. And like these, like literally he just distilled the best parts of Weezer songs, added Thin Lizzy solos, and wrote like amazingly depressing lyrics that are too good. So
that's awesome.
Highly recommend that
I have
one.
to check that out. Yeah. Hell yeah, dude. Now let's see. I've asked this question before when I've had on fellow musicians who are also weirdos like us. What do you think would be your like cryptid supergroup band?
Ooh, this is a good question. Wow. Okay. The Nightcrawler definitely be the lead singer. I really think that dude could belt it out. Maybe just a whole band of Ghost Pants. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with that. It's just all Nightcrawlers. Right. I think that would be the best. I like I like the idea. Yeah, I think that's good. Visually, I like the idea of like drumsticks just floating and creatures with no arms playing instruments that need arms.
That's awesome. It's like the band uniform, but it's just what they are.
Yes, exactly. I love it.
Yeah. Do you think that like your background in music has influenced you in any way with like what you do with your art and all like the strange, weird Fortean stuff that you like to dive into?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, especially the art side of things for sure. Like growing up in the DIY, like kind of punk scene, really helped with that idea of you don't have to be the best at anything to just do it. And like really, if you just do things, you're already like 9 steps ahead of most people because people just don't do stuff. So I always say like being in the punk scene, oddly enough, just taught me to be nice to people and constantly do stuff you genuinely like to do. And like that is what essentially has gotten me to where I am. Like I will like I could name 5 other artists working in the weirdo world that are way better technical artists than I am. And like I can plenty of people. I don't have the best like technical skills, and the music scene I grew up in helped me get over that hump of caring about that stuff so much. And really, because I mean, the artists I named earlier that are like my influences, if you look at their artwork, it's like technically beautiful and not what I do. But like, there was always that disconnect until like the Ramones, when you could be like, oh, 3 chords, silly songs, I got it. That can be just as meaningful and magical as like any kind of, I don't know, really drawn out long prog rock song or whatever people are super into. Like I love that about it. But as far as the weird stuff, I definitely think that there's something about going to like a local DIY show and like being in a basement with 200 people that are all there for the same band. Most people don't care about that. It like is a magic experience. Like you might not recognize it at the time, but looking back on it, I was like, oh yeah, we were all just like at church. Like that was all like spiritual, weird, paranormal, whatever you want to call it. Like I think there's something to that group consciousness.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess in that way, but it's like I never had any like. It's funny because a lot of the scene that I grew up in was much more kind of atheistic and like very much not into talking about all of the weird stuff, and much more about dealing with real life problems and things with more, I guess, societal relevance, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, dude. Yeah, for sure. I'm wondering, do you have any new projects on the horizon with Create Magic that you can talk about, or like, are you going to be vending at events anytime, or yeah?
Yeah, I'm definitely next year. I plan on doing a good amount of vending. It's something that I wanted to get back into this year, but just could not line up with work and kids and all of that stuff. I've been lucky to be keeping real busy in the freelance side of things, but also it keeps the rest, like the social interactions, down a lot, unfortunately. But next
Yeah.
year I definitely plan to try, and I really want to hit some of the more like weirdo events. And I've only ever really done things that were like Small Press Expo or the Alternative Expo, and things that more comic book oriented and stuff. So next year I really want to try and get out and do some more of the weirdo community event stuff for sure. Yeah.
Nice, nice.
So
That's
I
awesome.
have no like actual events or anything, but as far as what I have coming up, I'm planning on doing pretty much a double size issue for October. So I have 3 different original stories that are going to appear just for Halloween time in this. And it's going to be a mixture of I'm having somebody else write some stuff that I can't quite announce yet, but I'm real stoked about having their involvement in some of these comics because they actually are a researcher and like know what they're talking, like not just rambling about fun stuff. So it's been really fun to apply some of my comic skills to more linear storytelling in that way with somebody who knows more than I do. But yeah, so that's coming out next month. I'm just about to start printing those. I print them all in my garage. I just bought a copy machine when I started doing this. So I pretty much print 30 or 40 to start with, and then print the rest to order as they come in. So I'll start printing next week. And then 2 art shows that are coming up, that kind of remote art shows. One is in LA and one is in Portland, and they're both through through Brandywine, the coffee roastery that I work for. Their illustration art shows. I'm going to have information about all of the, you can go see the artwork I use for the coffee bags that I put out. So I'll have information about that coming soon, but that's pretty much what I got going on right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right, before we wrap it up here, I've got one final question that I always ask my guests, and I'm sure you know what it is. But out of all the Fortean things and weird stuff out there, is there anything that keeps you up at night?
Yeah, no, that's been one of my favorite questions that you used to end the shows. It's so good, and I think the answer is all of it. I mean, none of it is
All of it, yeah.
none of yeah. I mean, I think the thing that that I've been currently kind of stuck on is the well, it's pretty much two things. One is the idea of fictional characters becoming real, kind of the idea of the other interacting with imagination in a way that makes the stuff more real. And like there's a book called Mutants and Mystics written by Jeffrey Kripal that I read recently. That's one of my favorite things in the world right now, because he uses the parallel of Jack Kirby and Stan Lee and the creation of the Marvel universe as a fictionalized execution of what was going on the West Coast with like the human potentialist movement and Aldous Huxley and all of the weirdos from out there at that time period. And he cites these amazing experiences from people like Barry Windsor Smith, who created, it was the original illustrator of Conan. Like he has these experiences where he'll
Huh.
be sitting at the drawing table working on these crazy Marvel deadlines, and he'll be sitting there for like 6 or 7 hours. And he said he would experience things where the page he was working on would disappear, and then the drawing table would disappear, and then he would fall through where the drawing table was and land in another time and place. And the one of the wildest stories, he landed in the studio he was working in, but he didn't recognize the people that were talking or like the clothes or anything. And when he
Oh,
came,
what?
yeah, and he came back to, about 7 hours had gone by when he thought he was out for like 15 minutes, like super missing time thing. And then 2 years later, the scene that he saw during that experience came true, and he saw it play out in his life in front of him. And then after that, he started having even more weirder experiences where he would just kind of, same thing would happen where the thing he was working on would disappear, but he would fall into like the cosmos and become one with the universe and have all these like really big consciousness revelations that were just amazing. And he like he definitely was one of those people that thought he was tapping into something way more than, just something paranormal or time slips. Like he really felt like something was communicating through him, like your Philip K. Dicks or other people, creatives along those lines. So I love that stuff. That's where I find like my biggest inspiration from all of this, is where the weird and the imagination mix to make this all like more magic and special and real.
Yeah, yeah. And then certainly like some stuff out there that can be like, oh, well, it's reality breaking.
Yeah.
Like it
No,
goes out of the paradigm of the matrix that you find yourself in, right? And then
exactly.
something comes along that is just like, oh, well, the world isn't what I thought it was. Well, hey, listen, thank you so much for coming on the show. Can you tell my listeners where they can find you on the World Wide Web?
Totally. So createmagicstudios.com is the easiest thing. It has links for the shop and the podcast and all the social medias and all that good stuff. On Instagram, I am Todd TODDDE85, and I post things daily there, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, yeah. You have a Patreon too, right? You
Oh yeah,
mentioned.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's Create Magic Studios whatever the Patreon thing is, but it's all on the website too. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Great.
totally. I'm bad at this whole promotion thing.
Well, hey, it's all about you for this episode, right? Yeah. There we go. All right. Well, thanks again, man, for coming on, and we'll talk to you soon.
Definitely. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks again to Todd for coming on to the show. We'll have to do it again sometime soon. And I'll make sure to throw all the links into the show notes for Todd's projects, podcast with Create Magic, and all that stuff. I really love his art. And if you like the weird and whimsy, it's definitely something not to be missed. Next time on the show, I am planning on doing a new research episode since I just had a string of interview episodes, and I'm going to be doing something spooky and fun. So you're not going to want to miss that since Halloween is right around the corner. It should be dropping just before October 31st. So mark your calendars for that one. We're going to have a good time. As always, this show wouldn't be possible without the support of listeners like you. Anytime you download the show and share it with friends and family and whoever out there, it helps me out a ton and it means the world to me, honestly. Just the other day, the show passed 50,000 downloads, which is a huge milestone, and it blew my mind with all the activity that had been happening. It was like it took me a year and a half to get to the point where I was, and then everything just kind of exploded. So I think last time I checked, it's already past 60, which is great. I can't keep up. So I have a special giveaway planned that I'm working on putting together to start later this week as I'm recording. This episode drops on Thursdays. So it'll probably be Friday or Saturday that I'll be hosting this giveaway. You'll be able to find it on my Instagram, so be sure to check there if you want to win some cool merch as a token of my gratitude for all the support that you give to Strangeology for the almost 2 years that the podcast has been going, which is wild. Now, I mentioned that you can sign up to become a member over on my Patreon to support the show, but you can also support the show by picking up some rad cryptid and Fortean themed merch over on my Etsy shop, which you can find at strangeology.etsy.com. I've got a ton of stuff over there on t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, mugs, magnets, stickers, pins, and a lot more. So if you want to grab some merch that represents your home state with its most popular cryptid, you can check out the Home State Cryptids collection, or if you like something that's got a little bit more pizzazz, you can check out my cryptid event designs, which are very colorful, or my alien and UFO designs. I'm always trying to add new stuff to the shop, and I'm even working in the background on expanding to host my own shop on its own website, separate from Etsy as well. So hopefully that will be live soon. I'm hoping to have it live before the holidays. We'll see. There's a lot of work that goes into the back end of that stuff. So we're gonna work as hard as we can to get that up and running. But in the meantime, of course, you can always grab stuff over on strangeology.etsy.com, and your support is always very much appreciated. And make sure to give me a follow over on all of my social media accounts. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Twitter, but definitely Instagram. That's always my home base, and that's where I host my merch giveaways, like I said before, so don't miss out. And also don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can just search for the Strangeology podcast in the search bar there, and it should come right up. And I'm looking to get to the next level there and to produce some more video content. I already have a bunch of stuff up there, and I also throw the show up there too. And don't forget to head on over to my website, www.strangeology.com. You can sign up for my newsletter there, which I don't send out too many emails, so don't worry about the spam. And I also have a blog there. And if you are a writer who likes to write about cryptid, Fortean themed stuff, definitely get in touch, because I would love to feature some articles from other people out there. You can get in touch with me on my contact page, or just shoot me an email at info@strangeology.com. Also, if you are interested in sponsoring the Strangeology podcast, you can also send all business inquiries to that email. Again, that's info@strangeology.com. All right, I think that's it from me for today. For members, stick around after the short break. Todd came back on to chat with me about the ecology of souls, consciousness, near-death experiences, and some personal ghost stories. It got really wild and weird for a little bit, so you're definitely not going to want to miss it. So stick with us, and until next time, take care of yourselves and each other, and keep it strange. All right, welcome back, Patreon members, and thanks again, Todd, for hanging out. We had a few technical difficulties earlier. We took a little bit of a break.